Isn't it on here?
Yeah.
Joe Fastani.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yep. We're good? Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome, everyone. Great group here tonight. Thank you for coming out. Just a reminder, persons wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the start of the public participation. Speakers must register on the form provided by the district at the entrance of the boardroom. That's when we reconvene in the boardroom. To maintain a first-come, first-served process for the purpose of following up with speakers, please provide your name, address, telephone number, and/or email. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed during public participation, the speakers will provide the topics. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Thank you for that consideration. The emergency evacuation procedure. In case of an emergency, would everyone please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building. Stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any emergency vehicles. And thank you for that consideration as well. Now, next step, item 2, is approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve this evening's agenda, please. Ryan, second. Lisa? Any comments or questions about the agenda? Seeing, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Now, to the good stuff, right? The presentations recognition. So we're going to start with the permanent art collection. And I'd like to introduce Joe Fastea. Did I say that right? Did I come close? Thank you, to do this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Fastea. I'm one of the art teachers at the primary school. It is my honor to be here to present some of these awards to these outstanding young artists, and I'd also like to thank the board for having us, and also congratulations to all the teachers here who are getting tenure this evening. So we're inducting some of these students into the Victor Permanent Collection, and we have Dave Denner here, who's also one of our outstanding teachers at the high school. So I would really like to offer my congratulations to each of these young and talented artists, though talent is one of those words that I'm kind of uncomfortable with. I think we all know, like the adage that, you know, talent is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Even at the earliest stages, you know, these kids really work hard, and when you look at the work that's out there in the hallway, it really represents a lot of hard work, thought, and these kids have really taken these projects to not just the next level, but really like at a grade level beyond where they're currently at. So congratulations to them. One thing that you can do when you take a look at those works is not just admire them, but maybe ask those students how they got to those outcomes. Like what kind of projects did they, or what was their assignment? How did they make the decisions, color choice, brush handling, materials? How did they make the decisions about how to put things together? And you start to get to what that 10% of talent is. It's a lot of things that come together, and these kids are really doing a great job. So with that, I would like to bring up our first inductee. That is Alice Janicki. She's a student of Ian Marshall. Unfortunately, Mr. Marshall can't be here this evening. Alice, can you come on down? This is your certificate of achievement. Here is your anglerfish. So Alice has the piece that is in the hallway of the anglerfish. Congratulations, Alice.
Hey, stay right here, Alice.
Next up is Valencia Olenichek. Did I say it correct? Okay, come on down. And I know her as Lena. She's one of my students in the primary school, and Lena made the painting of the bird that is in the foliage. Really nice job, Lena. Congratulations. And I'm going to hand it over to Dave Denner to introduce for the next group.
All right, I have the pleasure of presenting for the intermediate school, the junior high, and the high school. First, on behalf of Miranda Dunton, she prepared a few words to say about her student, Nolani Mullen. Nolani is a talented sixth grade artist who created a stunningly realistic pumpkin using watercolor and colored pencils. After studying value and observational drawing, she applied what she learned with exceptional craftsmanship and care. Her hard work and attention to detail truly shine in this piece, and we are proud of the artwork that has been chosen to be included in the district permanent collection. Nolani can't be here tonight, but we want to congratulate her with a round of applause. On behalf of Mrs. Sarneckis at the junior high, I'd like to call up Kendall Smith, please. Nice job. I was just admiring it out there, too. So Kendall has a creative and focused approach to every artwork she creates. She has amazed me with her ability to capture realism, all while distinguishing her own style with each medium. This is perfectly captured in the artwork that was chosen by the district. The flamingo is captured realistically with a playful and bold rendering and colored pencil. Mrs. Sarneckis is so proud of the art Kendall has created this year and cannot wait to see her grow with our high school art department. Congratulations. All right, and then finally, from the high school, my student, Meredith Hogan, who also cannot be here tonight, unfortunately, but I just wanted to say a few words about her. So I've worked closely with Meredith over the past 4 years, and her passion for drawing people has led her to an outstanding portfolio. She's an exceptional portrait artist who has developed a style that focuses on exaggerated color and tension. Her colored pencil drawings work to capture the unique personality of her subjects with a playful approach. This portrait of her classmate, Via, is an exceptional example of Meredith's attention to detail and technical skill. I am so excited for Meredith's work to be on permanent display. She's a great example of how hard work and dedication can lead to incredible outcomes. So, round of applause for Meredith. And thank you very much.
Thank you, artists. Now, next one is the DECA, International Career Development Conference participants. I'd like to ask Sue Utz to come up, please.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much. I'm Sue Utz.
Mike Katai and I are the co-advisors of Victor Deca. We love this opportunity tonight to celebrate our successful students. There's so many people to thank to help make this possible. Between the school board, Dr. Terranova, Mr. Siesto, the entire admin team, Kelly Klink, the transportation team, the parents. We are just surrounded by an incredible community that helps our club be just as strong as ever. We proudly boast that we are the strongest chapter in the area. We just continue to grow and work harder to really continue to achieve great success. Tonight, we are honored to recognize a few of our outstanding DECA members. In April, we took 22 members to the International Career Development Conference in Orlando. There's over 10,000 students that compete at that conference, so I've gone a number of years and I'm still not really used to it. You know, you get there and it's a little bit overwhelming, but as you'll hear, our students just continue to impress. We're incredibly proud of their hard work, their competitive spirit, and the way they've represented our school on the international stage.
We would like to introduce a few of our remarkable students to you as we celebrate their achievements and continue to raise the bar for what Victor Deca is capable of. First up is Elias. Elias is a second-year DECA member. Elias is a sophomore, competed in restaurant food service management. He placed 5th at the state conference. He'll be a part of our leadership team next year, and we're proud of his contributions to our club this year and look forward to what's ahead for him. Next up is Ashna Raman. Ashna is a 3-year DECA member. Ashna was the New York State champion at the State Career Conference in Quick Service Restaurant Management back in March. Ashna will be on our leadership team for a 2nd year in a row. She'll be participating in the New Visions program in the fall as well. Ryan Gill, a 4-year DECA member. Ryan and his partner Raj competed at ICDC for the 2nd time in financial team decision making. Last year they were top 20. This year they weren't. Sorry, Ryan. Ryan served on our leadership team this year and also played varsity volleyball, basketball, and golf. Ryan will be taking his talents to Virginia Tech to study finance. And last but not least, Bella Cointot. Bella is a 3rd-year DECA member. She served on our leadership team this year. Most importantly, Bella is our first female to earn DECA Glass. That's top 3 in the world. Bella competed in the Entrepreneurship Individual Series event. In addition to DECA, Bella is a member of Victor Music Society, Tri-M Music Honor Society, National Honor Society, Cross Country, Track, Cares Club, and we can keep going, but we might be here forever. Bella's planning to attend the Purdue University and will be studying industrial design with a possible minor in business. So.
All right, thank you, Deca. Next is the boys golf section 5 class AA champions, and I'd like to introduce Dewey Weimer, our athletic director, to do this presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, congratulations to our artists, DECA competitors, and lastly to our 10-year recipients. Thank you to the Board of Education, Dr. Terranova, administration for all of your support. I'm going to bring up the Class AA boys golf champions along with Coach Sousa. Come on up here, guys. So before I give the mic over to Coach Sousa, I just want to talk a little bit about this team. Now, they're all not here. I'm sure some of them are out competing right now as we speak. However, this is the Division I Monroe County champions with a 10-0 league record, 23-0 overall. They're the AA champs. Brody Burgess was the AA individual champion. We had 2 players in the top 5, Section 5, in the top 80 actually. Brody Burgess and Colin Barber, both seniors. We're going to miss this senior group, but they have some younger athletes coming up the ranks as well. They're no stranger to this event. I'm just waiting for the Victor Farmington Fire Department to send me the fuel bill for all of their escorts, but I'm going to hand it over to Coach Sousa.
Thank you. You were supposed to throw the disclaimer in there that I haven't been home yet, and that's why I'm underdressed. And thanks for Mike Ataya for being up here. This is the first time I got to raise the mic up. Pretty cool. Love you, Mike. Congratulations to the tenured staff. We've been here, fortunately, a few times on this night, and this is a really special evening for you. So congrats to you, and obviously the art winners as well, the dedication there. I can't do half of what they can do out there, so that's impressive. Thank you to the board, all of our admin and the Victor community for supporting everything at this district. We really appreciate it. So as Dewey mentioned, it was a heck of a season for these guys, 23-0 overall. I think like the 6th league title in the row. A few of these guys have been on the team since post-COVID, and I mentioned at their banquet the other night, I think Barber and Burgess have been on the team. 105-2-1 is their career record, as I was gathering some stats on them, so pretty impressive. Before I talk about the team real quick, Brody Burgess is not here. He is not competing right now, which is weird. He's front row at Megan Maroney, so had to go exercise those tickets. But Brody was the Class AA individual champion. This is his 3rd time in his career, and to my knowledge, he's the only 3-time winner of that event. So pretty impressive. Brody also set a couple of records this year. He shot a 6-under par 30 on the front 9 of Monroe Golf Club, and he also shot an 8-under par 64 at Webster Golf Course, and that just happened to be in our team final, which was very appreciative, obviously, in that sense. But the guys that competed that day and the guys that were there supporting their teammates were amazing. So this was the 2nd year in a row that it was a Victor McQuaid final, and just like last year, it ended up being a 1-stroke difference. Luckily, it was a 1-stroke difference in our favor again, 391 to 392. You think about all the shots that are taken between the 6 guys that are out there. That's a really, really narrow margin. But again, Brody led the way with a 64. Gavin McConville's here. He played his last 4 holes, even par. Barber was on the tee, knowing with Burgess that we had a 1-shot lead, and they both had to make par for us to capture the championship. And then Ethan and Kyler, 8th grader and 9th grader in the middle group, battling some elder statesmen, really working together in some team golf. And I mentioned this too. A few of these guys were there basically spectating but cheering on their teams and caddying because Webster was underwater and there was a lot of plug balls. There was mud trails up their backs. There was mud up to their knees. Just a testament to what these guys mean to each other, what they mean and how much they care about the program. I've been really fortunate to coach a lot of these guys for a long time, and a couple of them for this first year. So again, being able to talk about and recognize the season that they had and ultimately landing in a Class AA sectional championship is pretty awesome. So huge accomplishment to them. We've got 7 seniors that are moving on, so we're very proud of what we were able to accomplish this year and very proud of those seniors and looking forward to seeing what they do at the next level, whether it's a few of them going to the golf course, but more importantly, they're all going out into the world as human beings, so that's ultimately what we care about. So thank you so much.
Okay, and congratulations to the golf team. And yes, Coach, I have to turn this back down a little. because of him, actually. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Tim Terranova, our proud superintendent of the Victor Central School District, to recognize our tenure recipients. Thanks.
Thank you. Raise it just a,
Oh, you don't have to.
I'm going to raise it just a tad. Okay, so I'm the lucky superintendent to recognize our tenure recipients. As I often say in Victor, tenure is not given, it's earned. These are all professionals who, at their heart, are exceptional teachers, they're learners, and they're leaders. They also have an unbelievable ability to build strong relationships with parents and students and their peers, along with administrators. And I think one of the most important traits that all of these individuals have is they have an immense growth mindset, and they have a real desire to build up their social emotional skill set, continue to grow, be resilient, and then impart those traits on their kids to be as successful as possible. And in our administrator's case, on the staff as well, too. So it's just a great honor. We have 30 names that we want to recognize. If you're here, please stand up. We have a chunk of people that are obviously very busy right now and aren't able to be here, but I was lucky enough to walk around for about 4 hours today, passing out flowers to these individuals, and it's probably one of the best parts of my entire school year. So I'll say your name. If you're here, please stand, and we'll give you a round of applause. If you're not here, we'll still give you a round of applause, if that's okay. So from district office, we have Karen Finter. And also from district office, we have Karen Ryan. From our early childhood school, Dr. Abigail Crimmins. Keaton Cardona. Laura Darragon. Alicia Purdy. Stephanie Myra. Stephanie was on a field trip all day. She was the toughest one to give a flower to. We got her about 3 o'clock, but Assistant Principal Laura Reynolds. And I'm glad he still has his flower on, and the Principal Robert DeRose. From the primary school, we have Kayla Doctor. Marissa Lawrence. Sarah Stockman. Robin Thompson. Grace Dunnigan. Genevieve Corcoran. Assistant Principal Amanda Byrne. Principal Heidi Robb. And our Director of Math Science, who I think is on her way to the state track championship, Carrie Goodell. From the intermediate school, we have Katie Oyer. Nicole Swansfager. Stacy Bourne. Brian Bureau. From the junior high school, we have Joseph Costanza. Julia Kiesel. Robert Sarnekis. Amy Maloney. Joyce Salufo. And Amy Cheslick. And last but certainly not least, 2 members of the senior high school, Aaron Jacobs and Jacob Herendeen. Let's have one more round of applause for our 30 tenure recipients. I'm going to turn it back over to our president, Mr. DeLucia.
Okay, again, congratulations to all our professional staff, talented, and all the talent we have in this district from our students. So congratulations to all. Okay, we are going to pause while we reconvene in the boardroom. And one of the highlights that we'll begin with is the superintendent's update. So see you there if you can. Thanks. All right, we are back in the boardroom and continuing with our agenda this evening. Item 4, Superintendent's Update. Dr. Terranova, if you please.
Thank you, Mr. DeLucia. Big thank you to all the students that were honored this evening. Incredible accomplishments in DECA, art, and certainly our athletics. We also have our girls lacrosse team and girls track team couldn't be here tonight. They also won sectional titles. They're both competing at the state level this weekend, so we look forward to honoring them later in the summer. Certainly a huge thank you to the tenure candidates, actually the tenure recipients now, as I know they're going to do great things for kids for years to come. Just a few celebrations I want to recognize. Flag Day is this Saturday, June 14th, and I believe we're going to have celebrations throughout tomorrow for Flag Day. It's the anniversary of the adoption of the Stars and Stripes as the official flag in 1777. Also, a huge shout out to the staff and students in the elementary Special Olympics. Recently, we had the secondary Special Olympics at Marcus Whitman, where our kids did an amazing job. We are having our own elementary Special Olympics. We had the parade today. Big thank you to the fire departments and police departments and Ontario County Sheriff who led the parade. It was a great experience around 2 o'clock this afternoon for our elementary students. We had one group of elementary students compete this afternoon at the ECS, and then the rest of the elementary kids will be competing tomorrow morning starting at 9:30 in the morning in the intermediate gymnasium. So just a huge thank you to everybody there, and what a great opportunity for our kids to compete and show their stuff in the elementary Special Olympics. Juneteenth is next Thursday. That is a holiday. It's a school holiday, June 19th. A holiday celebrated on June 19th to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people in the U.S. The holiday was first celebrated in Texas, where on that date in 1865, in the aftermath of the Civil War, enslaved people were declared free under the terms of the 1862 Emancipation Proclamation. That is our holiday, the school holiday on June 19th. And I know Mr. Siesto mentioned this, but we have graduation a week from tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. at Innovative Field with fireworks to follow after that. And just one other shout out, I was lucky enough to go, and I know Mr. Siesto and Mr. Gee went to this as well as Mrs. Ryan and other administrators and staff, to the Unified Choir performance on Wednesday. It was Wednesday morning, and Kristen Mellema, one of our outstanding music teachers, really created the Unified Choir on her own. Had support from our music therapists and other teachers, and it just did a wonderful job getting an immense group of talented students with a similar concept to Unified Athletics. And I wish everybody could see it. I know we have video of it, but it was a powerful, powerful concert. Lasted about a half an hour, and I know there were a lot of people in the audience with tears in their eyes just because it was so amazing. So huge shout out to Kristen Mellema and her work with the Unified Choir. And that is my superintendent's update.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Public participation. Do we have anyone signed up? Yes. We do. So although the board's work is open to the public, this is not a meeting with the public. At this time, privilege of the floor is offered to those who have signed up to speak. I'll be happy to recognize those of you who wish to speak. When you approach the microphone, please identify yourself before presenting your thoughts. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and the total time for this portion will be 30 minutes. Please note, issues related to specific school district personnel or students must be brought to the attention of the superintendent of schools privately, as they are not discussable at this venue. Thank you. So we have Debbie Linden, please. Can you pause just 1 second? I think your microphone is turned off. Great, thank you. Yeah.
I'm also New York State Volunteer Director for the 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit national organization called Defense of Democracy. Volunteers with Defense of Democracy advocate for public schools and its educators as they work to create a positive and healthy learning environment for all children, regardless of religious beliefs, cultural background, ability, gender identity, or sexual orientation. As we come to the end of another school year, I would like to take a few moments to pause, reflect, and most importantly, express our deepest gratitude to the heart of our schools, our teachers. I want to say thank you. To our incredible educators, thank you. Thank you for the weekends spent planning lessons, grading papers, and thinking about how much help each student succeeded. Thank you for being more than just teachers. You've been mentors, role models, listeners, encouragers, and steady sources of strength and guidance, especially when things are challenging. Even for those of us who may not have children in the schools, your work does not go unnoticed. Every day you pour your time, energy, and heart into shaping the next generation, guiding them not only through lessons and exams, but through the challenges and growth that come from learning and growing up. And while students may not always find the words to say it, know that your impact is lasting. The knowledge, kindness, and confidence you've poured into them will carry forward in ways you may never see, but are very real. Thank you for all you've done. You've made a difference, a true and lasting difference in so many lives. Thank you for believing in your students, even when they don't yet believe in themselves. Thank you for choosing to be an educator. We're really lucky to have you. We wish you a restful, joyful, and well-deserved summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Ben, help me with this, Genshieski. How'd I do?
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Genshieski. When I graduated from Victor 2 years ago, I considered it a great school. Students thrived, focusing on their education while forming great friendships along the way. Unfortunately, I'm now concerned about the direction the school is going. Instead of well-informed instruction, students are given Pride Weeks filled with DEI, all passed under the guise of education. I had a productive conversation with Dr. Terranova. I now wish to voice my concerns to you all. So let's begin. After years of education being solely career-oriented, I'm glad to see that there is a moral element once again. However, instead of schools being the cultivator of a moral life, they are now the replacement of it. Rather than championing hard work and virtue like those who came before us, we champion pride. Pride didn't always have to be institutionalized. It used to speak for itself. A prideful man would boast of worthy things, of success, a great career, wonderful children. Pride Week in the high school was the opposite of that. On Monday, students were told to be proud of Margaret P. Johnson, a transgender drag queen prostitute. What an admirable profession. I'm sure most of you are parents. Would you be proud if your child told you that was the line of work they were going into? Is that the academic excellence we are striving towards nowadays? On Wednesday, they celebrated intersectionality and were told to wear black and brown. I'll let everyone know that 2 years ago, my senior class was told that we could not wear all black and or all white as a theme for Spirit Week because it could be racially insensitive. Now our administrators are saying that the intentional mimicking of someone else's skin color is the cure to discrimination. It's easy to poke fun at the lunacy of these ideas, but it is a serious subject. We have made identity sacred, and at its expense, we've destroyed the individual. Instead of focusing on academic excellence for each student, we're obsessed with labels and groupthink, destroying the unique character of each student in the process. Instead of taking pride in hard work, we're telling them to take pride in their skin color and sexuality. These policies reduce students to mere pieces in the puzzle of administrative objectives. Instead of being centered on students, these initiatives are only enacted to give the impression of enlightenment to boost the rapport of the administration. We have been one of the top districts in the state for years. So why do we feel the need to change? Were we not meeting educational standards? The state sure didn't think so. Were students demanding progress? Well, considering that I've heard teachers were the main participants in Pride Week and not students, it doesn't seem like that was happening either. Victor does not have to try to fit in with everyone else. I was taught that just because everyone else is jumping off a bridge doesn't mean you should too. Members of the board, please do not jump off that bridge. Abandon these policies and return to what made Victor great in the first place, academic excellence and hard work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, Mike Modleski. Thank you.
Hi, Mike Modleski, President of the Victor Teachers Association. I have 3 points. One, Ben, I have a lot of respect for you, a former student of mine, but I do want to point out to the board that LGBTQ students are significantly more likely to face anxiety, depression, sexual violence, and suicide. Research would show that there's a CDC study that showed upwards of 50% of LGBTQ students considered suicide in their lives, and research also shows that the greatest way to combat those feelings is an environment where students feel safe, where they feel accepted, and when they feel welcomed. So I do want to thank the board and Dr. Terranova for making our schools a safe place to be. But the 2 points that I want to emphasize today, point one, I want to thank you as I do every year for recognizing our tenured teachers. It's, not everyone views tenure as a badge of honor, but it is. It's an extraordinary milestone in a career of an educator. The fact that the board points that out, celebrates that, and says to the newly tenured teachers, we believe in you, we want to empower you, we trust you to go out and change the lives of the kids in Victor. I think that's a great thing, and I hope it continues for as long as I'm here. And the third point, it's been sort of a tradition the last few years that I get up at the beginning of the year and the end of the year and just say thank you. And once again, this is one of the better school years in my career. Everything seemed to come together really nicely. And I credit that to Dr. Terranova and the administrative staff. We don't always disagree in this district amongst administrators, amongst students and staff, amongst colleagues. But I think Dr. Terranova sets the tone in this district that we can disagree and we can do it respectfully. And he meets with teachers constantly, that he does his annual spring tour where he just invites people in and says, let me have it. And that's why this district continues to grow. That's why it's such a great place to work, a great place to go to school. And I just want to say a full-on thank you to all that you do to support these schools. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, that was item 5. We are at item 6, acceptance of consent items. It's 6A through, oh my goodness, A through O. Yep, quite a few here. I need a motion to accept these, please.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, second.
Lisa?
Lisa? Any comments, questions, anything about any of these items? Anyone?
I have 2 quick comments, if that's okay. First, on the personnel agenda, we have the retirement of one Dorothy D'Angelo as of June 30th, 2025. There is a strong rumor going out that she's going to come back and help us out for a few months after this, which is great news for us, but I'm glad that's happening, but I want to publicly thank Dorothy for her incredible leadership, not just as the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel the last few years, but also as an extraordinary elementary principal and teacher before that. So we're really thankful she's going to stick around for a little while, but we're also very thankful for her work and her really time that she gave back to our district. So thank you very much, Dorothy. And then also, real quick, item O, approval of transfer of unappropriated fund balance to district reserve funds. I know you're approving that. This is actually an illustration of our financial situation right now. Last year, we had upwards of $8 million that we could put into reserves at the end of the year. This year, although it'll say the up to comment, where it's up to $1 million in our employee retirement reserve and up to $5 million in our capital reserve fund, what we're really looking at is probably closer to a total of $1 million to split between those two. So we have significantly less contingency left over at the end of this year's budget. The good news is we still have contingency, but this is why I think later on in our agenda we're going to talk a little bit about advocacy and reaching out to the community. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
For item F, just a thank you to the PTSA for the donation for the inquiry program with
I just
their
wanted
generosity.
to add that actually that is from like an individual family. So just, we do appreciate that and appreciate that they support the inquiry program, that it is such an important program that people want to support it. Sorry.
That's great. Thank you for those comments. Anything else? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we are at 7A, campus news, please. Comes a newly tenured person.
Got to lower the mic down as well.
Yeah. I can relate.
My name is Rob DeRose. I'm the principal at the Victor Early Childhood School. As we wind down another successful school year, I want to share some highlights that reflect the joy and sense of community spirit that defines our school, the ECS. We're all looking forward to the field day on the last day of school. It's a much-loved event, but it's going to be a little bit different this year as teacher leaders Emily Shozek, Sarah Toy, and Ashley Zahn have been collaborating with our PTSA to make a full school K-1 field day event that's going to really involve a lot of parent volunteers, a lot of excitement, a great kickoff event right at the start of the day to really bring to close an exciting school year, a lot of positivity, and a reflection of the great teachers that we have at the ECS. Thanks to the partnership between these three teachers and our PTSA, as well as our school community team. Their efforts are going to ensure that this field day event, which is going to be a new tradition, will reflect the positive relationships and strong sense of community that we work hard to build each day here at the ECS. Earlier this afternoon, we celebrated the Special Olympics Parade and held an initial event here in our gymnasium for our K-1 students. It was a beautiful scene where students, staff, and their families gathered on the bus loop for a parade that was sensory sensitive with the lights without the sounds. Our students made beautiful posters celebrating our incredible athletes and doing silent cheers, clam claps, and silent applause as our students paraded around, and we all got to just root them on and appreciate what they bring to our school and our communities. Thank you to Karen Ryan and Amanda Tripp for their thoughtful planning, their partnership, and their dedication in making today such a success, as well as we're looking forward to hearing about the success of tomorrow's event at the intermediate school. Tomorrow, our school will come together once more for an annual Flag Day Assembly. This is one of the highlights of the year, something I look forward to. Students will proudly wear their red, white, and blue as they sing and celebrate our Victor community, as well as the great country that we share. Hearing all of our students perform Grand Old Flag is just one of the best moments. Smiles, singing, a lot of hand motions, filling the entire auditorium. You're sure to see various forms of American flag hats and attire and sparkles and headbands. It's a really fun and positive event here at the ECS. As we reflect on all these events and all we've accomplished together, I want to express my appreciation for our teachers and staff. Thanks to the Board of Education, our supportive families, and most of all, our wonderful Victor students. Thanks everyone for a great school year filled with growth, joy, and connection, and we wish you all a safe and happy summer.
Thank you.
As Heidi Robb walks up to the podium, just want to mention that this is her last meeting. She's going to place that I won't name at this moment, but to become an incredible director of AIS and MTSS. You could probably guess the school she's going to by her dress. However, that's not why I'm saying it.
Bad mistake, my apologies.
I just want to say this in all seriousness. She's an exceptional principal, exceptional leader. She's great to work with. We do wish her well, although she doesn't need it. She's going to do great work in Canandaigua. And most importantly, I just want to thank you for the impact you have made on so many kids in Victor, both as a teacher and as a principal, and you're going to be sorely missed, so thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start by congratulating our tenured teachers at the primary school. Many of them couldn't be here tonight because we were celebrating one of our retirees. So equally as exciting, but congratulations to our tenured teachers. We're so fortunate to have them at the primary school, and collectively, they've done so much for our students there. Last night, I know some of you were there, we had about 240 Suzuki string students perform at the junior senior high auditorium. I want to thank Natalie Coots, who spearheads that program at the primary school. She makes sure that any student that wants to participate has access to an instrument. She makes sure we find a time in their schedule so that they can be part of this really incredible program. I don't think you have seen true live great music until you've seen that Suzuki Strings concert. It's really pretty incredible. Also, on Tuesday night, we had our first grade sneak peek, another really great tradition that we do at the primary school. We have third grade leaders throughout the building, and our first graders come to visit with their families, kind of an open house style where they get to go to each of these spaces and get a sticker. And it's so great to meet some of those incoming first graders. But honestly, it's equally exciting to see those third graders in a leadership position. They are so proud of their school, sharing about the room that they might be representing, answering questions. The parents can't even believe the maturity from these third graders. I've had students on the bus loop a couple years after say that's one of their favorite memories is being a third grade leader. So just a really incredible event that we had. Some really fun upcoming things. This afternoon, as Rob said, we had our Special Olympics parade. Tomorrow morning, our athletes will be at the intermediate school. Next week, we have our field days. The following week, we have our closing ceremony and our community meeting. And then we have a special day of play. So lots of fun things coming up to end the school year. I do want to end just by thanking the Board of Education. It has been such a pleasure serving here as the principal, and I can say without certainty that your support for students is unwavering. And any interaction I've had with any of you, you just see it. You're always advocating for students. What more can we do for them? And I want to thank you for the support in my time here. Obviously, I live here. I'm not going that far, and I hope to see you all around. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Morrow. I'm the principal of the intermediate school. Also, congratulations to all of our tenured staff at the intermediate school as well. It's definitely a big honor, and we appreciate all that hard work that they've put in for our students. Over the past month at Victor Intermediate School, our theme has been celebration and reflection. As we move into the final stretch of the school year, our students and staff have been deeply engaged in both meaningful learning and joyful community moments. Our students recently enjoyed field trips to Valentown, where they explored the rich history of our community and made connections to their classroom learning. Meanwhile, our sixth grade students have been thoughtfully crafting speeches that reflect on their elementary experiences here at Victor, demonstrating not just academic growth, but emotional maturity as they prepare for the next chapter in their move up to the junior high. We also came together as a whole school for our second building-wide assembly. During that time, we celebrated the incredible social emotional learning that's taken place throughout the year. We recognized our Pizza with Principals class winners, celebrated our Students of the Month, and honored those who have contributed to the VIS morning show in leadership roles, truly a reflection of the spirit and leadership within our school. Just today, we hosted our Special Olympics parade. It was truly a powerful moment of unity and support as our entire building rallied around our athletes who will be competing tomorrow. The pride and encouragement shown by our students and staff was truly inspiring. Looking ahead, we're excited for our upcoming field days, our sixth grade celebration and moving up ceremony, and a series of other culminating events that mark the end of an incredibly successful year this year. On behalf of our entire VIS community, thank you for your continued support. Your partnership helps us ensure that these final years of elementary school are not only memorable, but also transformative for our students at VIS. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Gee, the principal at Victor Junior High School. So I'd also like to recognize all of our tenure recipients, some of whom are here tonight, and others, like we've heard, are kind of off doing some other things with family or school related. We had a great group this year, and we have another great group coming your way next year. So we're very excited about the future at the junior high school. We just had recently our Victor Junior High School Art Show. I want to thank Leon Sarnekis and Christy Gordon for going out of their way to really put together a great gallery walk for all of our student artists to be able to showcase some of their key work in a variety of different mediums. It's a really nice opportunity. The springtime, we really do celebrate art quite a bit around the district, and that's a good capstone activity for us. Our music department recently went out to Darien Lake. They take quite a few students, probably close to 200 or so combined in our ensemble groups, and they kind of have an opportunity to kind of compete with other schools around the area, and we always do really well, but more than that, the kids have a chance to really kind of see the fruition of their work come through and have a chance to really get out and perform for an audience that's unfamiliar, go on tour, and then get to ride some rides and eat some hot dogs and do all that other fun stuff. So. Very good. And actually on the same day, we also had our Special Olympics, which is just a fantastic event. And I know Dewey's not here right now. Or actually he is. But just want to thank Dewey for helping organize the parade and the kickoff between the junior high and the high school for our student athletes and those going to cheer them on. That's always a really special moment for us. I do want to thank our PTSA. We had our staff appreciation luncheon yesterday. It's a wonderful recognition, and we really do enjoy having that a little bit later in the year. I know that it's a struggle to do all those appreciations in May. We are super happy to have that come at the end of the year. It comes at a great time for us. And lastly, Julia Kiesel is one of our recipients for tenure tonight. I want to thank her team. They won the 7th grade independent book challenge this year. Basically all of our 7th grade teachers through the English department keep track of how many kids read independent reading books, and they do quarter by quarter challenges. And for the first time ever, our Orange 7 has unseated our Red 7 team, and tomorrow they will get a pair of Victor logoed socks that our kids get, and hopefully they will wear those proudly on field days on Monday of next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Cieso. I'm the principal of Victor Senior High School. I also want to start by congratulating and recognizing all of our tenure recipients tonight, our teachers and our administrators. Very nice work. You have certainly earned it, so congratulations. We've had a number of events really this past week, I would say this past month, but it's all about the seniors right now. A huge thank you to our PTSA, who will be sponsoring our high school faculty celebratory luncheon tomorrow, but also for sponsoring the annual impaired driving simulation that was last week on Thursday with Mrs. Marianne Angelillo. She is the mother of Matthew Angelillo. She was our guest speaker. Matthew lost his life in a drunk driving accident as the passenger in a vehicle in June of 2004, 21 years ago. Her discussion with our students evokes humor, sadness, truthfulness, and a plea for our students to stay safe during a celebratory time of year. She's been a great partner with us. She's been coming here for more than a decade, and we are extremely grateful to PTSA for continuing to sponsor such an important event. Later that same day was our annual Senior Cap and Gown Campus Walk. We want to thank the staff and students in the ECS, the primary, the intermediate, the junior high, the high school, and district office for coming out to cheer for our graduating seniors, one of the best events that I think we do during the year. The senior breakfast and senior ball was last Friday, June 6th. We had breakfast at Bristol Mountain, and ball was at Harrow East Ballroom. Thank you to Leanne Berkmeyer and Ann Steckel for organizing those events. We had our awards night last Tuesday, and this coming Monday is our graduation ceremony for the Finger Lakes Technical and Career Center students. That's going to be at Marcus Whitman, so congratulations to those seniors for their outstanding commitment to earning those credentials in the trades and skill fields. Our senior bash is next Wednesday, June 18th. Thank you to the parents who are sponsoring that. We've got graduation next Friday, June 20th at Innovative Field. And last but not least, a copy of this year's yearbook is at your seats. So thank you to Dave Denner and his entire yearbook staff for publishing such an amazing, really, work of art. So, so that's compliments of our yearbook staff. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. So there you have it, folks, the final edition of Campus News for the 24-25 school year. We're at 7B, and yes, Dewey Weimer is here. He's going to do the health, physical education, and athletics update.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeLucia. Just want to make sure it works. It's on. It's probably going to go 3 times now because I just clicked it 3 times. There it is. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dewey Weimer. I serve to champion courage, respect, and resilience as the Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics here at Victor Central. Thank you, Dr. Terranova and the Board of Education for allowing me the opportunity to present some information today on our health, physical education, and athletic programs. Now we went twice. You can see our staff up there. I'm super proud of this staff. Mike Ferrari is our Assistant Athletic Director. Georgia Turner is our secretary. Recently, Georgia and Mike were honored at the New York State Athletic Administrators Association luncheon. Georgia earned the Secretarial Award of Excellence, and Mike was a Distinguished Service Award recipient. There's only 5 awards given in this entire chapter, entire section. Victor Central earned 2 of them, which is really outstanding. We really pride ourselves. We're one of the few departments that not only has instructional leadership K-12, but we serve between community connections on a daily basis. We work with other school districts throughout the state, transportation, officials, event staff, maintenance, grounds, custodians, New York State Department of Education for certifications. You get the message. We're a team of 3, maybe 4 if you count Chevy Chase in that picture, but we really do pride ourselves on what we've assembled and all that we do. There they are celebrating Georgia's birthday. Where's my close-up? I want to make sure Georgia sees this on the live stream, Aaron. Our purpose, we really have three-pronged purpose for our department. Number 1, we want to connect students to transformational adults. What do we mean by that? In its simplest terms, the human being is greater than the human doing. And when you're in a performance-based department where a lot of the times it's what you're doing, we really highlight the importance of making sure that our students, not only our students in the classrooms and the gymnasiums and on the fields, feel valued, but in our athletic department as well. We develop a culture of belonging for all of our stakeholders. We start every single day in what we call Gear 3, which is connection gear, where we really focus on active listening, being present, not trying to solve any issues or problems, and we really like to celebrate the individuals, the team efforts and successes, and showing gratitude for each other. And then lastly, for students, human growth and development. I believe it was about 1 year, 2 years ago, I saw this learning pit. I think it was one of Karen's presentations for the Office of Instruction, and really ran with it, and we've been utilizing it now for the last couple of years, where our goal is to provide opportunities for our students to be part of the learning process, again, either in a classroom, gymnasium, practices, or in competitions, where they'll be actively engaged and have some productive struggle and be able to collaborate with their peers. We're attempting to eliminate any sort of burnout or just providing information to kids. We want to be able to give them opportunities to learn through the process, either through competition or learn through our interaction sequencing and our instructional best practices. But these 3 areas are really what we're focused on, not only in our athletic world, but in our health and physical education world as well. So I'd like to highlight a couple things about our health programs. Number 1, I'd like to thank Safe Harbors and Thompson Health for their partnerships with our K-6 health curriculum. Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes is a K-6 program, and they work hand in hand with our teachers in elementary schools on personal safety, including our New York State Department of Education mandates relative to Aaron's Law, which is on sexual abuse and exploitation prevention. They do a great job meeting the kids where they're at and having those important conversations with them. Thompson Health is in the VIS, where they ensure the delivery of medically accurate, age-appropriate, and stigma-free content relative to personal hygiene, changes during adolescence, and the various bodily functions. We've also completed some great work the last couple of years in the junior high and senior high regarding nutrition and healthy habits. Brian Siesto and I have collaborated on this in the past, specifically with the nutrition units that we provide. We've collaborated also with the University of Rochester, the adolescent medicine clinical director there, and a nutritional counseling service specialist. And then lastly, our physical education. To be physically literate means the ability, confidence, and desire to be physically active for life. We are one of the few schools that provide aquatic safety K-12. We want our kids in the pool because we're in the Finger Lakes, and that opportunity is available to many. We also provide rhythm and dance because the expression of physical movement is important. Through that, cooperation, teamwork, communication come through. Our lifetime activities in the secondary school is amazing, and I'm going to show a couple pictures here in a second where we're on campus, off campus. We're really lucky for the facilities we have. Unified Physical Education and Leadership and Coaching elective are new this year. The Unified PE program is very parallel to our Unified Athletic programs, where students with disabilities are also paired with students without intellectual disabilities, and the partnership that they've made throughout the year has been amazing. So you see a couple photos here. You'll see the cooperation at the top in ECS where they're working on moving the ball from one cone to another. So there's cooperation, there's teamwork in there. The parking lot down here in the ECS is very, very active. You can see some coordination and balance. In the primary, we have some challenge by choice and functional strength training using health-related physical fitness properties. In the middle section there, that was a snowman that was developed during a cardiorespiratory endurance lesson. And then on the bottom right is an intermediate, one of our rhythm and dance creative expression lessons where they had to collaborate and make sure that they were able to present that to their class. So that's the learning pit in action. That's where they were having that cognitive conflict and that productive struggle, and you can see that in action. In the secondary, we're thankful again for the opportunity to see Dick's House of Sport where we had our ice skating. By the way, when I took that photo, I think my fingers froze just in that moment. It was cold this winter. Our rock climbing unit in the top right, you see Chaz down here in the bottom left. That's in our Unified Physical Education class. He just got off of a SUP, a stand-up paddleboard, and wanted me to take that photo. Before he jumped in, he never jumped in, but that's as far as he got. Bottom right, there's more water exploration with our water polo. And in the middle, you'll see Mrs. Ferrari. She's one of our junior high PE teachers. She works with this student here, and she collaborated with the Rochester Accessible Adventures Group. And they brought in, I believe it was 10 or 12 wheelchairs, and they had a lesson together so the students who are in class with Izzy were able to participate with her in that activity, which was really great. Again, what you're seeing up here is courage, respect, and resilience. We're working together on this, Kim. Thank you. So we're going to move on to athletics. It was really a record year for us. We had 2,220 registrations for our sports program. Again, I have to thank our health offices because that is a lot of kids to clear. And working with Georgia Turner and I, trying to make sure that every student is eligible to participate is a challenge. 1,109 rostered individuals, 646 multi-sport athletes, and that number continues to rise, which is really something that our coaching staff has advocated for strongly. A number I didn't put on there is we had, for our unified programs, 34 athletes and 29 partners throughout our bowling and our basketball program. Again, that's a program that continues to grow. And we had our first dual sport participant for our unified program this year, where they were able to do track and field and be a partner in unified basketball because they saw the value in that so much. We have 23 program offerings, 89 total teams. We've been able to increase our modified programming while still being able to balance our coach-student-athlete ratios as best we can. We've had some great creative partnerships with some of our local districts. This year we had gymnastics partnered with the Penfield Webster team, which was right down the road here to Bright Raven East, which was great. Nordic skiing with Pittsford, and HFL and Honeoye also joined us for boys volleyball. We're also thankful, this was the first year we offered flag football. 29 girls participated. I believe only one of those girls played on a spring sport prior. So it was 28 new girls that had never played a spring sport before. Some of them had never played a sport before ever. And one of them was a senior, and she wished she had started earlier. But it was a great experience for them. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to Dave Estocco and his leadership in our unified programs. We had the opportunity to travel down to the Kiwanis Club to have a conversation with them about all the great things that they're doing. And then Joanna Arnett's advocacy is absolutely outstanding as well. So our staff, we have 177 positions, 51 certified volunteers. Those are coaches that are certified through the New York State Department of Education, and they just want to donate their services to our district. It's 122 total individuals, 2,181 years experience out of those 122. That's a pretty cool stat to me, so I wanted to put that up there. So here you can start to see our increase, right? So the registrations is the blue line, and I did this back to 2016, so that was pretty much as far back as I can go in terms of digital records. So you can see how everybody sees the COVID dip. However, we've been on a steady incline. The red line is the number of the rostered athletes. So again, we are increasing the number of our rostered athletes. And the gold line is the number of dual sport or multi-sport athletes, I should say. We had 463 only participated in one sport, 421 two sports, and 225 three-season athletes. Again, these are all numbers that are continuing to increase. But what I think is most important to understand is our student interest in being part of a scholastic team is increasing. We want to give them that opportunity to feel part of the school community in a way that they really gravitate to. And a lot of times it is interscholastic athletics. And I just want to thank the coaching staff as well for their understanding and willingness to stretch their rosters a little bit in order to be able to accommodate this. Our outdoor track and field team, varsity team this year, had over 200 participants just in that program. Again, it's incredible that we're able to do that. We are listening. There are other students that come to my office all the time. Hey, why don't we do this sport? I'd love to do this sport. So we're trying to find those creative avenues to be able to provide that. One thing that I would like to address is we're still releasing about 250 kids annually, and that's been pretty static, which means kids are trying out for sports. They're being released or cut from sports through tryouts. We advocate that they go to another sport. Many of them don't, however, some do. But we have opportunities for kids. It may not always be their number one opportunity or their first choice. Oh, did I skip one? No. Hey, it works. All right. Here's our champions. So our conference champions, we had 10 league champions this year, 6 Section 5 championship teams this year, multiple individual teams. The state one is still blank. However, I got the text as we came in here. The girls lacrosse team is checked in at their Ithaca hotel, getting ready to prepare for their semifinal tomorrow in hopes of winning our 4th consecutive state championship, which has never been done before at Victor, by the way, 4 in a row. For Thursday or Friday's the semis, finals is on Saturday. Also, we have individual competitors for track and field that are in Middletown right now or on their way to Middletown as well. So I'm asked often, how does this year compare to prior years? So what I did is I compared it by calendar and school year. So if you can look up, you'll see the red. Those are the calendar years. So we've had sports here for 73 years. I did a fact check, by the way, and we did not include our unified bowling team, which were league champions this past fall. So it's actually going to bump this up more once we include them in that. But if you look, 21-22 in red, I'll go to the school year, earned 17 total championships. That's league, section, or state. So that's the 3rd most championships in that school year. Right now we have 16, so we're 4th. If the girls win the state championship, they'll be in that running as well with 17 total. And you can see 15, 22, 23, 23, 24. So in the last 4 years, and I believe this goes all the way down to 20 places, we've had top 5 finished school years competitively within our conference, within our section, and within the state. So not only are we doing very well in terms of the courage, respect, and resilience that we're displaying in our school and our community, we're competing in the field of competition, and I like to highlight this once more, 100% of them, the varsity athletes, have earned that scholar athlete status. That's the 7th consecutive year. So since 2018, 100% of our varsity teams have done that. And when you look at the totality of all the varsity schools, there's 781 of them, only 70 to 80 earn this. And it shifts year to year. However, there's always been one static, Victor. So we are not only competing very well in competition, we are competing in the classroom as well. As I started, I'm here to champion courage, respect, and resilience. So one of the things that we did over the summer is we developed the Blue Devil of the Day. It's a recognition program that celebrates the student athletes, the coaches, fans, supporters of Victor Athletics who do champion those characteristics, inspiring and empowering others. So what you see here on the right are those that we championed for courage. And this is on our website if you ever want to look more into detail on each of these. The gold are all of our respect honorees, and the gray are all of our resilient honorees. Each of them have their own story. Each of them have made us super proud that they're a member of our programming or a part of our community, and we're going to continue honoring them in this way or honoring others in this way as well. Went too far. There it is. Thank you. Are there any questions from the Board of Education?
Anyone?
Just one, thank you. Obviously, this is amazing. When you were talking about the non-rostered athletes, do we statistically track or arithmetically track those that do what the numbers are that do choose? I know they're encouraged to, and you said some just don't, which is fine, but do we track that? And if not, could we maybe something just to get an idea of how many of those student athletes are saying, you know what, yeah, it didn't work out, but to your resilience point, are sitting there saying, well, maybe I'm going to go to a non-cut opportunity.
We don't track that. It's probably some good data to hold to see which sports they're gravitating to after that. Personal story, I have 2 senior high daughters who didn't make their primary sport, but found great success in the sport that they moved to after the fact, swimming and in tennis. But that is something, so our household appreciates that fact for sure, but it is something we can certainly track moving forward.
It'd be an interesting thing to your point about resilience. While we're teaching the student athletes, it would be a neat thing to follow and see where they go. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Dewey, I was just going to say, I just appreciate your effort to make sports so much more than sports in this place and have the excellence and continue to win. It's just such a great combination, so thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Great comments.
I
Something
have
else?
one more. As a former lifeguard for many, many years and swim instructor, I'm so grateful that even our youngest students get the pool access every year. It is, I really, it's one of the blessings of being on a campus like this, that accessibility, because not all school districts have that to offer their youngest students. So I think that is huge, and I recognize there's a lot of moving parts with moving kids from, here and the primary school and intermediate up the hill, and a lot of flexibility with the PE staff and the classroom teachers, and everyone has that big buy-in, and it shows how valuable that skill set is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Great job,
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, we're at 7C, the capital project update. Looks like George Spinaris, Allison Shannon, Cameron Coneyworth, please.
Hello. Thanks for having us tonight. Tough to follow, Dewey, though. Thank you. So we're here, George and I'm Allison Shannon with SWBR, the architects for the capital project. And George.
Nice to see everybody again.
Benares with campus. So we're going to walk you through a little update of what we're doing with the capital project. Do I have a slide? All right, so the agenda tonight is to give you a quick update on Phase 1. We're moving quickly through Phase 1 and 2 of the project, and as you recall, it will be a 3-phase project. So we'll also update you on the scope of Phase 2, an update from facilities planning, update the budget from George and his team, and then we'll review the project schedule. So these are the themes, as you recall from Dr. Terranova's presentation earlier on: safety and security, building renovation and innovation. So you'll see some spaces that we're creating that are new to the Victor campus. Facilities repairs, so those are the infrastructure needs for the district, like roofs and sanitary and other things. And additions based on enrollment needs and space. Victor is a growing district, so we're looking at adding some additions in this project. So at the early childhood school, and you'll see this across the district, the Phase 1 will include PA and clock upgrades. So that will be a building-wide project to upgrade those infrastructure needs for a safety and security standpoint. And then Phase 2 for building and innovation will be air conditioning, cafeterias, and gymnasiums across the district as well. We're finding to meet a mandate from the state, students are needing to find cool spaces when the temperature gets to be above, I believe, 96, 98. So the district had made that a priority for Phase 2 to be ahead of that mandate from the state. The primary school, again, the same renovations, Phase 1, PA and clock upgrades, and then air conditioning, the gym and cafeteria in Phase 2. The intermediate building will have 31,000 square feet of roof restoration. So this is part of that facilities repairs, the infrastructure upgrades, making sure that the roofs are warranted in the district. Safety and security, the PA and clocks again. And then again, in Phase 2, air conditioning, the gym and cafeteria. Junior, senior high school, I sound like a broken record, again with the PA and clocks upgrade. There'll be turf field added to field number 7 with ADA accessibility around that field. And then 94,000 square feet of roof restoration. And that is Phase 1. Phase 2, the list gets longer. So replacing kitchen and sanitary system, adding secure vestibules for both the junior and senior high. So these are additional spaces for the vestibule area. Relocating the main office, because we're creating a, as you recall from the plan, we're at the upper right-hand photo, we're creating a classroom addition of 17 additional instructional classrooms that will then enclose those areas where the 2 entrances are for the junior and senior high school. So that will require relocating the main offices to the exterior portion of the buildings, adding, again, air conditioning to the cafeterias and gymnasiums, relocating health clinics as we're adding, moving classroom spaces around, and then adding about 1,900 square feet to the junior high cafeteria for a sensory cafeteria space. And that is the lower right-hand photo where you see the entrance and then the cafeteria addition. Victor Learning Center. So this is a new building acquired by the district. So we are looking to update the facade and the infrastructure for this project, which, increased the cost for this building because the district decided that it was an opportunity to go in and one and done kind of upgrade the windows, doors, roof, infrastructure. There was no insulation, not enough insulation that would be energy efficient in the walls of the building, and also upgrade to the needs of the school district in terms of accessible toilet rooms and class spaces that suit the developmental learning needs of the district. So that building in particular is the face of the campus, so we're looking to spruce it up a little bit from the exterior with landscaping and resurfacing of that parking lot as well. The Operations Center, which is the former bus garage, will become a new CTE space. So this is a new program for the district for an automotive CTE space. So looking at creating a classroom space as well as a space for students to work on small engines, small cars, trucks, things like that. So getting that hands-on experience right here on campus. So that is in phase 1 as well. Budget. This is George.
Okay. Well, Dorothy's retiring, so she used to hop out the window upstairs with me to go assess the roofs, so I'm going to miss you. I don't know if we were OSHA compliant, but it was a lot of fun. I know Christine is going to be joining me next. That is true. All right, so budget phase 1. So safety, security, PA systems, it's going to be a little over $2.7 million. Building renovations and innovations is about $7.5 million. Facility repairs, campus-wide roofing repairs, some RTUs, rooftop units, and whatnot is a little over $4 million. And design development estimate for phase 1 is $14.6 million. I want to preface, though, to let everybody know that phase 1 is over budget. It's $2.25 million over budget, mostly due to the Learning Center. Learning Center came in at about $1.27 million over budget. And the reason is that you have one shot to make this facility right. And everybody pretty much came to the conclusion that since you only have one shot, that we'd be better off going over budget on this and then shaving some monies off of other areas of campus. So, and I'll get into phase 2 because we're a little bit over budget on phase 2 as well, but in a good way. So I'm very happy to announce that even though we're a little bit over, everything is going to look like it's supposed to look. And again, as Allison said, that this is the face of the building when you make the turn and come in. So Learning Center is a big part of campus, and we're going to do it properly the first time. So that's where we're heading. All right. Which one is it? I got the Dewey clicker.
The Dewey, there we go.
All right, so phase 2, building additions. Classroom additions, that's the heavy lift. That's a little over $28 million. That's the monster. That's going to be the exciting portion of this campus. Building renovations, a little over $14 million. Campus-wide site work, including sidewalks, roadways, bleachers, and whatnot, a little over $1 million. And HVAC renovation work, that was taken from phase 3 into phase 2, a little over $3 million. Again, with the state mandates to cool off spaces, it was thought best to get in front of it so that we don't have to wait and keep students comfortable. So we're moving the HVAC scope into phase 2. Schematic design estimate for phase 2 is a little over, well, close to $47 million. Now, we are over budget, like I said, in this phase, about $3.58 million over budget, which equates to about 8%. Now, we're only in schematic design format here, so we're in really, really fine shape. That's pretty much, the schematic designs are a little better than conceptual. We're developing the scheme, we're developing the plans, the team is, and once we have that more information for design development, DDs, then we hone in on the nitty-gritty, and then we fine-tune. Then we take opportunities to see how we can skinny up the project. We look for alternates, and just analyze and dive into the buildings themselves and all the components in order to come to within the proper budget and make up some of the differences. So we're looking pretty good, very good actually. Project schedule. So we've submitted phase 1 drawings to facilities planning. That happened on May 30th. Bid opening for phase 1 is scheduled to happen in October 25th, unless SED provides us with a win and accelerated approvals. Breaking ground on phase 1 is in the summer of 2026. Perhaps roofing might happen a little bit before that. We have this other box checked off, schematic design for phase 2. That was completed March 20th of 2025. Design development for Phase 2, that's going to happen this month, June 27th. So once we get those documents, then we'll do another estimate, provide the team with another report. We'll know pretty much where we are budget-wise. And then construction documents for Phase 2 is December 19th of 2025. And any questions for the team?
Okay, board members, anything?
George, can you go into a little bit of detail as to why we're over budget in those areas? Is it due to inflation costs or?
Maybe a little bit, but not much on that yet because the tariffs and all that stuff haven't hit. Now, we do have contingencies and we do have heavy escalators in these as well. So for the DD portion of Phase 2, we have very heavy escalators, and in Phase 3. So we're trying to protect the dollars. So we're being very, very conservative. So for Phase 1, again, the Learning Center was the driving factor for being over. And again, the reason was that the original scope did not include certain things, like the skin of the building, so the outside, the windows, the roofing, so we made it more energy efficient. The boilers were old, the air conditioning units were old, the parking lot is shot. So when it was first developed and the building was first purchased, we really didn't have a clear understanding of what that shell was.
Of the project.
Right.
Got it, okay.
So by putting all this together, we're over. But again, you have one shot, so you might as well.
Do it well.
We're right, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
I appreciate the idea of we get one shot, so I support that idea. I guess my question is, and I don't know if it's something you can answer now, if it's more of a report back, is, you said, yes, we're going to be over budget, we're going to be over budget. So in 1 year I hear, okay, that's not a good thing. But I hear, well, we're in good shape, which I trust because you guys have been basically living on this campus for years and doing great things here. I'm trying to balance those two things of we're multi-million-dollars over budget, but we're in good shape.
Okay, so when you take the whole and you take the, I'm going to call it $100 million, 99 and change, and you do percentages. So we're only 8% over. Usually at this point in DDs, we're anywhere between 10 and 15% over. So being only 8% over with inclusive of the additional work that we're doing at the Learning Center, we feel that we're in good shape. The schematic designs for the Phase 2, again, that's the big building. And there's so much that's in it. And as the design team develops it, again, we hone in and then we develop alternates to protect the budget. And we have very, very heavy escalators in this thing right now because we didn't know what the government was doing with tariffs. So we do have higher than normal escalators for this, again, to protect it so that we have a Phase 3, that we have additional funds that we can protect the project.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. And then I guess, I don't know if this is more Dr. Turnova or George for your team, of do we then as a district, from a contingency standpoint, need to anticipate potentially dipping into reserves in the future more so than we perhaps anticipated because of costs? Is there another side effect that we're just not seeing yet?
Well, again,
financially?
Once we get into the DDs, I'll be writing a report to Dr. Turnover and everybody else that's affiliated with the project. I'm sure I can make copies for you as well. So at that point, what we also do is we, again, protect the budget with the alternates. We make sure that we have enough money and contingencies and everything else. So we are very careful to protect the budget. We've always had very good success here at Victor with bids. People like working here. They really like working here. So we've had, great success with numbers and bidders. We make the phone calls. We get great participation. And again, once the DD estimates come in, then we know where we are. We hone in. We get together collaboratively as a team. We all sit down, we brainstorm, and then we present different options to Dr. Turnover and his team. And then we kind of assess the situation and where we are. And then always keep in mind that we also have another phase, which is Phase 3, to make sure that we can protect Phase 3. So, we're very careful as far as, watching the dollars and how it's streamlined. And again, we work with the design team to make sure that, we hone in and what's excessive, what's not excessive, what can we protect, what don't we need, that type of thing. So.
No, thank you. Thank you for your
explanation. I think that's why we should always give these consistent updates to the board so we can track that. And if we get into a situation where we're starting to get where George's tone is a little different than tonight, and we start to get a little concerned about where we are, then we can have those discussions around next steps.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. That's helpful.
And if I could add to that, we can only spend what was approved by the public, so we can't go over that amount. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, I just have a quick question because I've been around for a lot of different projects over the years, and after one is done, I hear lots of parents say, "Oh, why'd they do this? Why did that?" But I also hear lots of employees say, the people who are living in the space, who are using this space. Why are the shelves in the library so deep when our books are only this big? So I'm just wondering, what true conversations have you had with people who will be using those spaces, and how are you setting that up in the design process? Because I just heard it the other day, when the bus garage was done, it's like the designs just didn't make sense, so I'm just wondering, as a system, it's, I've been in council meetings where somebody comes in and just says something, but I'm just wondering, how are you really setting up those one-on-ones and true conversations?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we are actively engaging the principals at each of the schools who are bringing together teams of people who need to be in participation in these spaces, who will be ultimately inhabiting these spaces. So we look to the principals to sort of set up the teams of who needs to be there. We've also been working with Karen Finter for the CTE space, which is a lot of unknown because that's a new program to the district. She's taking in different administrators from other CTE programs locally to get their input on what this space should look like. So, we aren't the ones living in the space at the end, so we want you ultimately to be happy with what's going on. So we look for input from each of the schools to help us, to guide us along the way.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want to see, and definitely making sure that it's a back and forth.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of times it's the dollars and cents, and you want to, storage space isn't aidable, so, there's no storage space. Right. But, I liked your philosophy on the Learning Center. If you're going to do it right. So there needs to be a conversation, if, letting the, people know who are going to use the space, why X, Y, and Z didn't happen, or, that kind of thing. Just, having that back and forth so that people, they're not going to get everything they want, but they'll understand why they didn't get X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
So.
There are many more meetings and conversations to come, so.
Awesome.
If I can add too, I think first of all, these updates here are one very strong way to keep doing that. So when we look at the budgetary oversight piece, I think that's important for us as a board to kind of be mindful of this. But I just think the transparency thus far that we've asked for it and now we're getting it. To me, that's a huge step in the right direction. And I think it's, as you look at the phases, a lot of these things are table stakes things that we just really need to have, especially when you look at the enrollment growth as we head toward junior and senior highs, particularly senior high. I mean, it's time to do these things. So I think I applaud a lot of the effort to keep reinforcing where we are in terms of phases and what's coming out. But this is one venue where we can continue to have that open discussion and dialogue, I think. So thank you so much for all of that. And you're in a good mood because of the cookies, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I lost 60 pounds eating any more cookies, so I'm on a good path.
All right, I got you.
Can't eat any more of that stuff. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So the group meets every Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. We meet for an hour. We go over everything, and
that's awesome.
We're very committed to making sure that you are going to get the greatest product.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Anything else? Great update. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
7D, cell phone ban update. Brian Siesto, Mike Modeleski, please.
I couldn't help but notice in the renderings, not a single person had a cell phone, so I don't even think we got to worry about this. So, okay, so just want to kind of launch right into it. The legislation was passed recently by Governor Hochul, and just want to I've got 15 minutes, so I just kind of want to quickly go through the basis for the legislation. There were two, I think, studies that were done that really influenced our decision as a state to move in this direction. Former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy and a Pew Research Center publication that came out in 2023 said that social media by our youth is almost universal. And you see the statistic there, 95% of our youth between 13 and 17 use social media almost constantly. What that's defined as is 8 hours or more a day. By 95% of our youth. That does not mean that they're actually on their screen 8 hours straight, but what it means is that they're checking it constantly throughout the day. So that obviously is an issue. We know that there are studies to show the impact on mental health, depression, and anxiety. And in that Pew Research Center poll that was done, 75% of teachers said cell phone use was a major problem in classrooms. Mike Modeleski has done some polling here at Victor where it's really 90% have said that cell phone use is an issue. We know that there's a negative impact on students' ability to think creatively and critically in the classroom setting. Schools that have moved away from these internet-enabled devices have seen an increase in engagement in classrooms and an increase in student participation in extracurricular clubs and activities in the arts. Schools that have developed procedures to allow student access to phones during let me rephrase that. Phone-free environments don't compromise student safety. If anything, during emergency situations, the schools that have moved away from the use of cell phones in schools, students are probably more inclined to listen to adult directions or staff directions during those emergencies. And we have, of course, seen the number of mental health benefits to students and teachers when they move away from having cell phones in classrooms to the promotion of healthy relationships and healthy school environments. So that's kind of the basis, I think, for why our state has moved in this direction. It's probably been a long time coming. Just to explain what we have done so far in preparation to make this move. We have a summary of what the 5 schools do right now and how we currently handle internet devices. In the ECS and the primary buildings, it's not so much of an issue. I did check with Rob and with Heidi, who said that occasionally students will have these devices, but for the most part, from the ECS, the primary, the intermediate, and even into the junior high, those devices are for the most part put away and stored during the day in their classrooms, their lockers, or in their cubbies. In the high school, it's a very different story, where students have been able to have their phones on them. Right now, for the last couple of years, we have empowered the teachers to have their own cell phone procedure in class. Many of them have like the hanging storage areas or a cell phone storage like locker, if you will. Some teachers will ask them to keep the phones on their desk in the corner so that they can visually see that students aren't accessing them. However, as the year goes on, students are they're just tied to it. And I talked to a student yesterday who told me, and I thought this was interesting. She said, we're digital natives. This is something that we're almost born learning how to use. By the age of 2 or 3, they're actively engaging with tablet devices, and this is just a part of their fabric right now. I have done some stakeholder input work with our senior high school building council, which is comprised of teachers, staff, parents, students, CSEA representatives. We've had meetings with our VTA membership, including several with Mike, our building reps, as well as meetings with our faculty. And Dr. Terranova's superintendent leadership group has spent significant time discussing this topic with those 30 students or so. I have also attended several Monroe County and Wayne Finger Lake schools, and just to give you kind of just a rough summary of what those schools are doing, I want to just say that no one has like the golden answer to how are we going to enact this new law from the governor. Each school is doing what they feel is right. and all schools are different. So when I talk to different schools, one might be doing something very different than another. Some schools might be collecting them at the door. Others might just be saying, we just expect it to be off and away. So each school has their own way of how they're going to approach it. What I will tell you is that just from the polling of these other schools, I do believe that we are really far ahead in terms of our approach to this and our planning, whereas not all schools are in the same at the same level that I think that we are. Some considerations about what this is going to look like. This is a bell-to-bell legislation. So once the start of the school day begins in the high school, for example, at 7:40 until 2:15, the students will not be able to access their devices. Okay, so that includes passing time, it includes study hall, it includes lunch, it includes the cafeteria, and this includes all internet-enabled devices. As I mentioned, this is not going to be a perfect system, and I think everybody realizes this. We are going to have to manage this in some capacity. However, we do have some ideas for how we're going to do that. What I will say also is that written into the legislation, it's very clear that you cannot suspend students if they violate this policy. So discipline that's associated with this, we want it to be appropriate, but it would have to be progressive. We want to be very clear in how we're going to communicate that to our families especially, but also to our staff, so that everyone knows what the expectations are. The collection of phones, that was one question that came to me, is are we able to collect phones as students come in, or is there an area of the building where we can do that? That proves to be a little bit problematic for a number of reasons. We have a number of students who have either late arrival or early dismissal, and if you take away even that, we've got a number of students who come in or out for appointments. So the collection and storage in one area would also create tremendous backups in the morning, and we already know what it's like even just trying to access our building and get on campus in the morning. There are methods that families are still going to be able to communicate with their students during the day. Students, pretty much, we're a one-to-one district now where all students have a Chromebook device. So email is still going to be a way that people can communicate. We have our office phones in our main office. We have our PA announcements. We have our room telephones. And I know that Angela Affronti has put in a query to Parent Square to see if that could be a utilization for parents and students to get in touch with each other if needed. What's our plan in progress right now? I mentioned the entry points in the morning about what the tough thing about collecting devices when students came in, how that would be. We just don't have the ability to do storage in one area. Part of it is also because we just don't have the staffing for that. Theoretically, schools that do this have dedicated staffing where they check phones in and they sit in the room and they watch that all day. There's a couple of problems with that. One is the handling of the devices themselves, if they get lost, for example, and what the liability could be with that. Our lockers in the high school, I went around and I counted 2 weeks ago. We have 1,067 lockers and over 1,300 students. To have students go into a locker and store their phone, first of all, we don't have enough, but there's also an element of trust that the students would actually do that. And I'm not saying that we can't trust our students, but we also know that not all of them would do that. They also are not supposed to access them between periods, so that's not a guarantee that they wouldn't. And although we can't live in guarantees, the locker situation, I think, would be a little bit of a stumbling block. Something that we are interested in, we have looked into a pouch system. You can see a few companies up there, Yonder and Faraday. Those are pouches that if you put the price tag aside from them, we were interested at first in maybe a Yonder pouch system. However, to be completely transparent, when we met with the representative from Yonder Pouch that night, I went online, and there are websites that are devoted to how to hack into the Yonder pouches. The Faraday pouches, those are military-grade pouches, but those pouches are fairly small, and if you were to store a phone in there, you would not also be able to fit in a smartwatch or AirPods, and those are included in this legislation. I think some people think erroneously it's just a cell phone bill. It isn't. It's internet accessible devices, so it goes beyond cell phones. We are interested in doing a pouch system. The ones that you see over there to the right, those are what they call money bag pouches. They're much cheaper than the other two that I showed you up there. However, we do believe that there is a benefit to a pouch system, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. Okay, as I mentioned, discipline would be progressive with this. We do. Kate Pyle, who's our new assistant principal, who just came from Florida, her school went to a no phone or internet device policy a few years ago. And she said that if you don't approach it with very firm and clear expectations, it is very difficult to rein back in. So the discipline would be progressive with it. When we do have to address that there would probably be discipline involved in this. We hope not. I'd like to think that of our 1,300 students, 90 to 95%, I think, will come along into this, but we also have to be realistic about this as well. There are exceptions to this rule, medical exceptions. For example, diabetics, I'm a type 1 myself, where you would have to have access to a device to check maybe your blood sugar readings, and also translation services for our ELL students as well. So those are things that we know that we can work around. We do think that the benefit of a pouch system is one where there's some shared responsibility, okay? This is not just falling on students or on staff. It's really three groups of people who are responsible for this. So let's start with our families. Our families are going to have to get to a point where they understand, first of all, everyone needs to understand that this is legislation, this is the law that we have to follow. And we're going to try to educate our families in how we can allow them to still contact their children during the day if needed. Okay? Our students are going to have to understand as well that this legislation was passed because of the research that has gone into showing the negative impact of being tied to these devices throughout the day. Mike had a great statement the other day. He and I were talking, and Mike said that students right now are almost visiting our school. They're not engaged in school because of this. So that's something that we have to educate our students about, is that we need their engagement in school, and this is why we're doing this. And our staff, I had a faculty meeting yesterday. This is a 100%, everyone needs to be on board with this, not just because it's a law, but because this is the right thing to do. This can't be a situation where in some classrooms, at the last 5 minutes of the period, a staff member lets students access their devices. That just can't be allowed. So there's equal ownership on everyone in this. We think that a pouch system, if students were to come in the morning, and the expectation is that at 7:40, students put their devices into a pouch, there's something physical about doing that. That kind of removes the excuse, if you will, for students to say, oh, I forgot that I had my phone on me, or I forgot the AirPod was in my ear. We believe that by having a simple pouch, nothing crazy, nothing overly expensive, but something where they can store their devices in there, is a step of ownership for the students. It's also something visual for our staff to know that at the beginning of the period they could do something as simple as, all right, everyone hold their pouches up. I want to see that you've got your devices stored in them, or you can put your pouches on a table in the room or something along those lines. But it also allows the students to have their devices We're not collecting them. If they have to leave during, the day for an appointment, then they can just, they've already got their things with them. And I will also say that there have been times this year where we've had to evacuate the building, and it might be a snowstorm, it might be 20 below, or it might be raining, and we have to go to the intermediate building. For those emergency situations, the students would have their devices, and you can allow them to have access to them in those emergencies. For example, like that, if they had to contact home for something that was not as serious as what other emergencies could be. That's kind of like a low-grade emergency, I believe, if you've got to evacuate and move to a different building. What our idea is that students would be, they would be given a pouch at the beginning of the year, one assigned to them, just like their laptops or their Chromebooks. They would be responsible for that. We would have extra pouches available if they forgot one, but this is also part of our tiered communication plan. So what would it look like? This is something that I envision that we could share with our students and with our families. I plan on holding this summer an option, like a Zoom meeting where people can understand what our policy is. This is obviously going to go out on Parent Square as well. Three expectations. Devices go into the pouch upon arrival every morning. They're not going to be seen or heard or opened during the school day until dismissal, and families should refrain from communicating with students, but they can email and use the other forms of communication that I explained earlier. That's it. Those are the expectations. What about the consequences? Okay. First time a device is seen or heard, tone or vibration, there would be a little bit of a lift on all staff members. Notification would be sent to the appropriate administrator. Okay, we would contact families, whether it's a phone call or an email. I have an email up there, but phone call or email. And then the pouches that we're looking at have the ability to lock by putting an external lock on them. Okay, so we would lock the pouch until the end of the school day, and then at the end of the school day, we would unlock the pouch. Now, this is part of the suggestion where we have to kind of come into this with a pretty firm stance after educating everyone about the purpose of this legislation and what our plan is, a pretty firm stance on how we're going to implement this besides just warnings. If there's a subsequent violation, then the discipline would be progressive. It could include, all right, this is your second or third time. Now you are going to have to turn your device in the morning when you come in, and we're going to keep it in the office. Maybe we do that for 2 months or something along those lines. Those are some of the little things that we still have to work out, but we also know that we want to make sure that we're addressing this appropriately. Okay, so those would be the consequences. Okay, what about? So yes, there are going to be different scenarios and things that we have to consider, but it also includes the hallways, restrooms, every other area that I said earlier, the free time. It cannot be seen or heard from really the beginning of class until the end of the day. This is not per teacher discretion. It applies to all learning spaces. That also includes off-campus field trips, trips to Boughton Park, maybe for mountain biking. So it includes the entire school day, and then progressive consequences would follow. We would educate everyone that there are scenarios or considerations that would arise, like the medical conditions that I saw earlier, but it does not change the premise that it cannot be seen, heard, or accessed during the day, and that this has to be a collective effort between students, families, and staff, because this is legislation that everyone in the state has to follow in a public school system. So I know that's a very, very quick rundown of it, but I can assure you that there has been a lot of time and thought that's been put into this, and I really want to thank Dr. Terranova, Mike Modeleski, and VTA, and the students who have been on the Superintendent Leadership Group and Building Council for their input in how we're approaching this. hey, I know there's probably going to be questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
And I've heard this, so I'm not sure if you've heard this through some of your tours. Does this only apply to students? Does this apply to anybody who's in the building?
So the legislation is written for students. However, when I had our staff meeting yesterday, I said that, what this cannot be is, staff are accessing their phones, with free will. There's got to be restraint. Because I've had a lot of students ask me, well, what about the staff? What about the staff? This is about student engagement and learning. However, that does not ignore the fact that as staff, we need to try to respect this law as well. So although
the only reason I'm asking that is because the other districts seemingly are looking at whether or not that applies to staff as well, the legislation. And I'm just trying to understand the legislation myself. Right. Does it explicitly say students only, or does it say this is internet-enabled devices bell to bell within the building? I think that's what I'm trying to understand myself. And I think a few other folks are trying to understand that too in other districts. So I don't know if that's come up in your conversations or not. Because I don't think it explicitly says students, unless I misunderstood it. Legislation.
So in the conversations that I've had with our districts, they're approaching it as students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
But I could also clarify that.
No, yeah. I'm curious because I agree with you. It's the law. We have to comply. We have to make sure that that's stated. But I think the question really becomes, what is really the full interpretation of that legislation when we go into policymaking? So, but I think this plan is phenomenal, and I really do think that you've got a good, solid footing, probably ahead of a lot of other districts at this stage of the game too. So
yeah, the policy that you have in front of you, which is the first read tonight, that was written by the Erie One BOCES, and it does use specific words of students, which came from the law. So it's prohibit the use of internet-enabled devices by students during the school day. So everything's specific to students.
I have a couple questions. I'm very appreciative of this. It's super informative, and it really helps, like, as we read through the first read of the policy, which we've had for a couple days. My understanding is that this does not apply to buses to and from school.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
And some schools are saying as soon as you walk into the building, we aren't even, for us, we're looking at 7:40 a.m. to 2:15. Some students get in at 7:10 a.m.
Right.
Some come in right at the bell, but instead of trying to police the students who might be coming in early and following them around, what we are trying to manage is the actual school day.
Okay. So thank you for clarifying, because I have had some parents ask, what about buses? So that's helpful to know. Long-distance field trips, so the senior trip, some of our opportunities for students to travel considerably far away from the district overnight, how is that being handled?
So there are exceptions granted for certain educational experiences. It even in the law says that certain classroom experiences are allowed to use it. We're really, so to answer your question, the long distance field trips, we would lift that for, like, say, the senior trip or DECA or a trip to Europe or something like that. But during the day, what we want to kind of remove is the carte blanche decision-making by staff, and nothing against our staff, but, this educational experience that I'm doing with my students right now requires them to use a phone. We can't get into that, because then it turns...
It's a runaway train.
It is, and then you're going to have different staff members doing different things, and it almost pits them against each other. So this is a 7:40 to 2:15, and we're not going to grant that exception. I talked to Sue Utz today, our work-based learning coordinator, who's organizing a career fair in October, and we actually spent time talking about if if guests come in, business owners come in, and they have a QR code and for students to get information, would they be allowed to use their device for that? We would say yes for that, but we're trying to be very thoughtful because I think everyone knows that this legislation is out there and they're asking good questions. So.
And then one final question. So on the other end of the school day, past 2:40 when there's co-curriculars, even though it's not written in the policy because that's past the bell time, what will the practice or expectation be within the district for student athletes, music organizations, clubs?
After 2:15, they can use it. We would say you can use your device because then you might be trying to arrange a ride home or something along those lines. So, some of our students are here. I think of like the musical. They might be here until 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
So that's almost another school day after their school day. If you look
yeah.
at the time sequence there, so it truly is. We're looking at the 7:40 to 2:15.
The instructional periods
Yes.
during their day. Thank you.
I was curious, I know you used Dr. Terranova's Student Leadership Council for a lot of feedback, and I was curious what some of the students said.
Yep. So some of the students, after we get back away from opinion about the law, we're past that point. We all have opinions about it, and we need to go beyond that. This, I equated it might not be the same thing, but when we came back from COVID and we had to wear the masks, we had to do that in order to be able to open our school, and that was legislation at the time that we had to wear masks. And then that kind of, that went its own course. This is something that we really can't argue. So once students get past the opinion point, what we notice is they came up with, well, here are the things that you're going to have to think about. They did almost all universally recognize the anxiety that students are probably going to have by not having access to their device. We do honestly think that by doing a pouch system where students still have it technically on them, we think that's a better move than them turning it in and checking it somewhere and they don't have it, because we think that would just bring a different level of potentially conflict, but also anxiety for anyone. The students understand what we have to do, and I've also just been asking students at random when I see them in the hallway what they think about it. Have you heard that there's new legislation? And they're all maybe grumbling a little bit, but I would say I have not heard one student say, over my dead body. You're not getting, I'm going to have my phone. I have not heard that once. So I think that there's already a level of acceptance that this is happening. And I've gone into classrooms, and I've just stopped in, and I've kind of dropped little nuggets that in September we won't be able to do this, and there hasn't been I haven't been hit with the water bottle yet, so
Been no uprising.
there you go.
So no Charlton Heston type comments?
No.
My question is, what kind of feedback are you getting from staff? Will they be modeling, appropriate behavior so that students understand the importance of this? And one of the reasons I ask this is, I won't say what district and I won't say what substitute teacher, but I have heard from a substitute teacher who was in a room and support staff were on their cell phones for a great deal of the time during the classroom when, they really should be attending to what their job is.
Right.
So just curious about what kind of feedback you're getting from staff and what kind of support you might expect.
Some of them are digital
I
natives,
think,
too.
Brian and I have been talking about this since February, and whatever the policy is, whatever we land on, there's been plenty of opportunity for staff feedback, and the VTA is 100% in support of getting behind the policy and making sure that we're modeling good behavior and we're holding each other accountable. It has to be that way. It just has to be. There's no way we can do this if we're not all moving in the same direction. And the opportunity is right now for feedback and conversation. In September, we're just all going in the same direction. And I think that it just has to be that way. And I think that the funny thing about our staff, that we're politically as diverse as you get in the world outside of the walls of Victor. Almost all of our students or all of our teachers agree this has to happen in some way, shape, or form. It's just, I think anyone in the classroom would tell you that it's just out of control. We need to do something to try to get control of the cell phone problem.
Yep, great, thank you. Others?
I was just going to say, I think that this is going to have some serious growing pains, and I feel terrible for anyone that has to deal with this. Teachers, you know. However, I feel like it's such a gift because in the name of enriching kids' lives, to be able to offer back to them a world where most of their parents don't have the courage to take it away, they're going to learn to live in a culture without their phones, which most of them don't know how to do. So I just want to encourage you that putting your foot down on this stuff, like, you're going to make these kids' lives better. That's what I personally believe. And so I know it's going to be tough and there's going to be fights, but just thank you for coming up with this plan. My initial thought was, I was in Binghamton School and the kids all had the pouches and most of them were locked. And I asked one of the students, I was like, is it distracting to know that it's in there? And it's like, it was at first, but now it's just like my backpack. So it seemed to work. So there's that school that has a litmus test if you ever want to connect with them, but sounds like a good plan.
Yep. Thank you.
Firm.
I agree with Adam. Thank you so much for all the work and thought that went into it, and I love that you're putting the ownership on the students. And thank you for the staff. That enforcement is going to be on their shoulders a lot. And having unity is wonderful because that's going to be needed, and you're going to have some growing pains and stuff. But I applaud you. Thank you so much for all that you put into this. And good luck in September.
It'll be fine.
October will be great.
Thank you, Mike, too, for Brian referenced it earlier. When I saw the 75% stat, to me, that was horrifying that it was that low. But that you reached out into, you know, like just our faculty and staff here and indicating it's 90 or up. I think that's also helps, and especially recognizing the mental health piece. I think that's a drum that we can bang loudly as families and students are having the growing pains of coming into this, that this is definitely, it's for your not only enrichment, but it's for the betterment of the human being that you are. And you're going to have the opportunity to actually talk to another person face to face rather than, you know, play a game with them when you're sitting 3 people away. Mr. Adams, you had mentioned, and I know I have to give a shout out, Jennifer Springer is the principal of the high school in Lackawanna, and they did this past year, and the way they approached it, it was stated on, I think it's on their website, that faculty, staff, it is to be off and away, so that they're modeling the behavior for the students, which I think that also goes a long way for the students to have that buy-in. I think it's really a good message, too, that we're empowering families and we're empowering faculty and staff, because since it's a legislation and it's district-wide, it takes that discomfort from a faculty member who doesn't want to be the bad guy. And like, oh, I don't want to be the heavy. And it's like, you know what? So I think I would sit there and say, hey, you know what? That helps me out, because it's not Mr. So-and-so or Ms. So-and-so in this classroom having a different set of rules. It's across the board. And Mr. Snyder, to your point about, you know, families who just haven't had the courage to take it, well, this empowers families, too, to just say, hey, during the school day, the district is saying, you know, the state is saying, you know, give it up, and this is going to be good for you, too. On the discipline side, I like the fact that it's progressive. This is what I've lived in my day-to-day life, so you and I will probably have to share some phone calls. 2 things would be, one, when a student is going to go use the restroom, there's a consideration of, does the pouch stay in the room? And the other one, a reality is, imagine a world where a student might actually turn in that phone, put it in the pouch. There's another one in their pocket. Yep. So that just might be another one that pops up, and you deal with that.
We know.
Yeah.
We know the dummy phones. We you know, students do that now with teachers have a pouch system. They do the dummy, and those that now you're creeping into the 5, maybe 10% of the students that we're going to actually have to deal. We know that's going to happen. You know, this is not a perfect system. We know it. And we also know there's going to have to be increased hallway supervision by all staff in between classes, in the restroom. So there's still some things that we have to make sure that we're monitoring and consistent with.
And actually, you just nailed what my last point was that you brought up earlier. I very much appreciate the fact that we're all around here just saying it's going to be imperfect. There is no panacea for this, and it's going to be something that just continues to evolve and hopefully becomes the new normal for our students and staff. Thank you for the deep dive.
Absolutely.
Even to consider having students fill out like an optional survey, like how it's going the first week and how they're feeling about it, and then maybe tracking like the anxiety or the emotion behind it, and then hopefully, you know, partway through the fall it drops off and it just becomes, this is how it is and I'm okay with it. But I'd
do
be
an
curious.
SEL check-in.
Yeah,
And we do
absolutely.
one
I'd be
in spring,
really
so
curious to see how it's going, and I think, what is it, like 21 days to build a good habit or something like that? And I wonder, you know, if that would track pretty close with the initial rollout. So I'm curious, and good luck.
I always get to day 20 and fail. No, I just want to reiterate again, thank you so much. I love the inclusivity here too. You know, there's a lot of thought about who it's affecting and bringing them into the conversation. But even when you disclosed some of your own medical, and that may be a thing for to me, that felt like a real testament to us looking at this from almost every angle that we possibly can. So thank you so much for that part too.
Okay, anything else?
Just like a really quick clarification as I look at the policy on my screen. Any assistive tech that students would be using, like that does not count in this, just like total transparency for parents. So like communication devices, anything of that nature, assistive tech, it's none of that counts.
504 IEP, you know, the
devices.
things that are written into those
Right, the
individual
education
plans, that does not apply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we good?
We're good.
Thank you, very informative, appreciate it. Okay, we are at 7E, which is the policy review, first reading of the following policy, use of internet-enabled devices during the school day, 7316. After this, I have to go back and read it for additional.
Yeah, so the law states that school districts must have a policy by August 1st. So I guess, so this would be the first read, and then we would put it through all our constituent groups in the next, really, 2 weeks to review, with the caveat that I think we want to clarify what we don't have a choice of, which is part of the law, and what there's some options with. But this is why we'll need a cover sheet that kind of explains, you know, where it came from. But then the constituent groups would follow the policy process and get feedback to the board. And then the ideal thing would be to decide on any feedback that we take and whether we adopt that or not, which won't be a ton because it's pretty cut and dry right now. And then whether the board feels comfortable that they can adopt it at the, what is it, the June? Is it
July meeting.
July 10th meeting. Otherwise, we need another meeting to adopt it by the end of July. I guess that would be the other option.
Right. Did you say August 1st?
August 1st.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's typically you have, I think, was it a 3-month process? This would be a 2-month process.
Do we think our constituents groups will have because they're really who we need to hear from first? Right. Is this giving them enough time before?
I think, well, yeah, I think our shared decision-making groups can do that. Okay. I think they're just going to need clarification on what, they may want to change something that they can't.
Right.
So we just, instead of wasting a lot of time, we can clarify, this is basically the law, and here's some flexible points that students and staff have worked at. Do you have any feedback on that? Something like that.
Well, I mean, realistically, the board could adopt this before August 1, you know, end of July, and we could always go back to it again.
And revise it.
Yeah, amend it and refurbish. So we can comply with what needs to be done by August 1st, knowing that we could still go back and review it and make any changes that might be necessary.
An adoption of, when we adopt the policy that we decide upon the specifics of it, do we then need to go back and look at our code of conduct? Because there's a potential disciplinary component with this. So would we need to review
that's
that?
something, let me look into that, because we're doing, so we're a month later in the code of conduct. That's a July.
Right.
So we may very well they may have already, I have to look at it, they may have already implemented that. I don't know how specific it is in there. So that's a great question to check out that I can get.
Because I think the timing of this coming out of Albany was after we were approving
Correct.
code of conduct. So that's what I'm saying. We may just need to go back and then update that, and it may have to be mid or beginning of the year, not waiting till the annual review of the policy.
Yeah, we'd want to update it within the code of conduct that's going to be approved by the board in the summer.
Yep.
There was one piece that I just wanted to bring up while we're all sitting here and while we all have access to the policy. It's the first page towards the bottom. It talks about how students may be authorized to use the internet-enabled device during the school day on the school grounds with, point A, point B, point C, like in these events or under these conditions. And looking at item D for translation services, my guess is if students, like if an ENL student needed translation services, would they have a district-issued device to be able to assist with that? I don't know who would be able to answer that, but if they have to use their own device and they don't have access to it, and we're trying to keep it very consistent with not having the phones out or whatever that device may be, their district-issued device should have that translative services, even though it's not part of a 504 or an IEP.
So the question is whether we would always have a child.
Whether they would have access to translative services, so it wouldn't even need to be an issue if their phone was away.
That's something I can check on. I don't know at
Just
this
from like
point.
an equity standpoint.
I don't know at this point how.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have an answer, I'd love it. Yeah, that'd be great. You're just going to stand up there then.
So some, our ENL teachers, I know that, yes, students do have a district-issued device, a Chromebook, but there are some instances with some of the work that they're doing where they might need an app that could do something that the translation services that we can provide as a district, they might just need something quickly to do. So that's why I think that's part of the law about the translation services. I think there's got to be a little bit of flexibility with that for depending on what the first language is of the student, but also potentially what exactly it is that they need that translation service for. Some apps are better than others. That's just the way to state it quickly.
So there isn't, like, not speaking of Chromebooks, for example, but if there's iPads available within the district, like at the high school, or the equivalent of like Samsung, we wouldn't have anything like that accessible to kids. That's not their personal device.
I think that would be something we would have to look into. Basically, we would follow the same process we currently do for students who need these, knowing that it might be better if we could purchase, if for whatever reason they are using their own phones, which many of our kids don't have, or, the money to have those types of devices. So we have to support them to make sure they have the right devices, and then make decisions, on an individual basis. If a child needs to use their own phone because of significant ENL services, I think we just need to send that message that's appropriate, and people need to understand that.
Right.
But also, just to that point, Dr. Turnover, but then simultaneously, I would charge us with the task of, while in the short term the student needs to use their device for that, I would then say then it's also on us as a district to say we need to go actively figure out how to provide that form of device, or whether this app or whatever we have to do, whether it's iPad or Chromebook, so that the student isn't in that situation, because then that student has now been put into a situation of, oh, well, the rules are different for you.
Right, well,
And that's,
because they don't have an IEP because they don't need one. It's a language piece, and there's not a legalized document around what they need.
Karen Ryan just mouthed to me that we do have iPads available for this, so, and we do have an array of technological devices that they.
So there's access?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other comments at this point?
Just a quick thing. I know we were talking about it earlier, but the teachers have to have the professional development or the rules and how to enforce it, and the understanding what are some good practices. But just keep in mind, custodians and support staff, they're the ones who are really going to catch it. So maybe some professional development along those lines.
Great point.
Too.
Yep. Great point.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're good. Thanks. Item 7F, advocacy, community engagement discussion related to funding.
Look, there's a slide. Thank you, Mr. Siesto, Mr. Modleski, for that presentation as well. We've talked about this, so I just wanted to make sure we talked about it as a board leadership group too, just to make sure we're talking in public about these ideas. So we have 3 areas we really need to focus our advocacy on. One is the typical area, which would be to increase our state aid and to advocate for appropriate state aid. We've heard, I've heard from the board and we've heard from our legislators, we need to do that earlier than later. So that should really start in the fall. But there are 2 other areas that we also think are very important, and that's the finding other alternative funding sources and partnering with other groups to do that besides taxes and state aid. And similar, but ways to save on expenses with partnerships, whether that's community colleges, businesses, other school districts, to save on expenses but add but keep or increase the actual opportunities for our kids. So somehow find a win-win. So alternative revenue, but also saving on expenses through partnerships. And the idea was to create to bring together a community group to have these discussions around these 3 areas and use the collective wisdom of that community group to come up with ideas and action plans that we can implement, not just with our legislators regarding the state aid advocacy, but also the other 2 areas as well. And that could be certainly representatives of staff, representatives from our associations, representatives from our community, our PTSA, Board of Education, similar to the thought partner groups that we've been using throughout the last few years for different major type decision-making, including coming back to school after COVID and exceeding the tax cap. So that was the general concept. I just wanted to make sure that we brought it up here and just listen to the board for your feedback and potential direction for me on what you're thinking around it.
Like Jim Boeheim basketball court type of thing? Terra Nova basketball court?
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be my basketball court.
No, I think this is spot on with the 2 bullets, particularly with regard to community engagement, because I think Elizabeth in particular has been a big proponent of this, and the board does a lot with advocacy, but I do think to your point, it's time to
Heavier lift.
It's a heavier lift and bring community members in for that discussion as well. So I'll kind of turn it to you. But
Thanks. No, I really think that, and I know several of us have talked about this year, but I feel that if we wait to talk about this in September with all of the business of, launching another school year, I think it's going to get tabled or pushed off, and then we're not really going to be ahead of the timeline that we had this past year. I talked about this at length in my one-on-one with Dr. Terranova, so I'm really pleased that we'll be talking about it tonight. I think, I don't think we're going to get huge rollouts in a conversation this evening, but I would encourage us to consider maybe a workshop at the end of this month to really sit down, get the ball rolling, figure out who we could tap as community partners, who to involve at a district level, and just really get some action items and a very stable timeline underway to roll out before people leave for the summer. Not like us, but just like, the district. So.
Yeah, I will say I work with a lot of people that this is what they do constantly, and there are schools that come up with $300,000-$400,000 for projects by just simply asking people in the community. They send out flyers, whatever it is, whatever kind of project. I was just thinking of like Fayetteville Manlius, Dewey. They're able to just do stuff like this constantly. So it is doable, and it's there. And then generally what they'll do is it'll be donated to the school, and then the school will bless it and purchase whatever it is that they raise the money for. So it's the tax process goes that way.
I mean, we've seen our community come together to support a capital project this year, our budget this year. So I agree, Adam, there's no doubt in my mind, we have a community who's willing to support our school district financially in many ways, and really strong business partnerships that Suwat's has, tailored for us over the course of the last few years. So I really think if we get in front of this and start early, we're going to be having different conversations with our legislators later in the year than we did this year and previous years.
Well, and I also think, speaking to colleagues of ours at other districts, there are schools in the Monroe County BOCES districts who have started this past year. And to see, where did they find success? What are some things that they might be tweaking for the coming year, just so that we have an idea of what hurdles we might face that are unforeseen because we're just starting this work, and to just network with our colleagues in other districts and see what we can start with.
There was actually a survey from Monroe County School Boards that went out today, and one of the things I listed as an additional item is getting the school districts together at some sort of Monroe County to talk about what they've seen, what they've done, what we could all do working together to learn from each other on this.
I love the idea of getting lots of minds in a room. You get, more information when you get more people from the community because they have different contacts. Just one of the starting points I think we need to do is also look at the laws as to what we can accept and how, like the procedures, because I know there's some legality of naming rights, and like you can have a dentist come to hand out toothbrushes, but it can't have the dentist's name on the toothbrush. So like we need to get the nitty gritty because sometimes when you think, oh well, District X did this. It used to be like field trips. It's like Bloomfield charges for field trips, but we don't. It's like legally we can't, and it's just people get away with it. So like I'd really like to know the laws so that we're doing this the right way.
Absolutely.
But I love the idea of getting everybody together.
Well, and I think involving Sarah from a legal end, and she is a district parent, she's had kids go through the district, and I think we need to tap into that from the get-go so that we don't end up in one of those sticky situations unbeknownst to us, doing something that's illegal or unethical. So I absolutely agree.
Just to Ms. Prescott's point, yes, it's not to oversimplify, but yes, that's what we need to do there. To Ms. Mitchell's point, yes, that's why we have Sarah, and we have the best in the business there.
You shouldn't try to figure
and
it out.
then, yes, and then I go back to this a lot, but at least in my time serving on this board, our community has never failed. They have always risen to the occasion when it's what's best for the students, whether it's overriding a cap multiple times, whether it's just approving the budget, whether it's whatever it has been. We have a community, going back to Mr. Weimer, you want to talk about resilience. So I think we leverage that by making sure that we hear those voices because they're going to be the wisdom and the boots on the ground for us.
Okay, so I'm hearing a couple of things. Number one, we already have one suggested member of this group, Sarah. And number two, we have an action item now. the suggestion for a workshop by the end of the month to come up with discussing that last line there, the makeup, role, and timeline of this group. So I would ask Kate if you could help us with finding some dates that might work for most of us. I'm not sure it's going to work for all of us, but by the end of the month. Is that correct? Am I okay?
Correct. Sounds great.
Anything else on that subject at this point?
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Then we're on to 7G, the process of approving student members on the Board of Education. Who would like to begin?
Well, we have one. And I'm out.
Okay, let me see if I can quickly summarize. The process that we have used for this first time at it is we solicited the help from Brian Siesto, our superintendent, Tim Terranova, to survey and collect information from potential students that have interest. They filled out what I would call applications, which almost look like a college application in terms of, questions that they needed to answer about why they would want to serve, et cetera. And then we met actually earlier this evening to review those applications and select who we might want to invite to be student members on the board. Did I do okay with that?
Nailed it.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Pardon me? Okay.
And we'll review that process as we go forward in subsequent years.
Yes, we may not use the same process going forward, but that was the start.
And I think our students that ultimately end up on the school board will be helpful to us in potentially evolving that process if we need to and getting their feedback.
Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Terranova, once the student representative of the board or representatives are then announced, is there something that we could put out to the community so that the community understands what the role of the student representative on the Board of Education is and what they're able to do based on what's come out of Albany? And
Yeah, definitely, and it could either come from my office or it could come from the board.
I would say it could come from us, but I just think in partnership of everyone here at this table, and then we kind of coordinate that through public relations so the community understands exactly what
It'd be very important to do that.
That's great.
In the same way that new board members are announced at the start of their term, we could also announce our student reps on, that their term of service will be from this date to this date, and these will be their primary responsibilities.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay, we are on to item 8A, Monroe County School Board's committee reports. I don't think any committees have
Nope.
met,
Stopped
right?
meeting last month.
Any standing committee updates? Those have not happened either. Upcoming events would be, item 9 would be the reorganizational and regular board meeting Thursday, July 10th, right here. I'm sorry?
graduation Friday.
And graduation Friday. Yeah. Anything else for the good of the district?
I think Lisa wants to make a motion.
Am I always the one who makes that
Motion
first
to
motion?
adjourn?
Lisa.
Lisa, second.
Ryan.
Ryan, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? None. Motion carried. We have had our meeting.
Thank
Last one for
you.
the 24-25